The accounts payable process is something that I think you're going to find incredibly useful when you're using Bill.com for this purpose. It's really where I started actually with Bill.com. The accounts receivable part sort of came after because I realized I could do it. What accounts payable does is it enables us to do a couple of things. First of all, if people are still using a fax, that you actually can get a fax number and they can fax their invoices to you. The other thing, and this is where I use it most, is all of our vendors that send us bills every month or whatever the frequency might be, most of them are emailing us their invoices by now. A lot of the services we use, utilities, you can go in and go paperless and have them email you the monthly bill. Well, when you provide that email address, instead of using your own, you can use the one that's provided by Bill.com so that those invoices that get sent to you automatically show up in the Bill.com inbox. And that way, when you go through your inbox in Bill.com, you're going to be able to bring that image of that bill up on screen. You can download the PDF if it helps to do so, but you've got it right there on screen, and right next to that is a small little dialog with all that's really needed at a minimum to do the data entry part, right? You're going to need the invoice number, you're going to need the payee, you're going to need the amount, and much like with your accounting software, once you've entered one bill from a vendor and coded it to an account, Bill.com will remember that. So it really cuts down on the time it takes to get your accounts payable process, especially because what then happens next is that bill will sync to your accounting software. And now that that's being taken care of, the payment as well, when you process it through Bill.com, will also sync. In other words, instead of entering something 2, perhaps 3 different times, right, if you're doing it without Bill.com, you now only have to enter something once. And even that data entry is pretty limited in terms of what you have to do. Come along with me. Let's take a look and see what this looks like. Managing accounts payable with Bill.com. You saw in the setup where we created an email address to be used to have our vendors send our bills to so that they'll show up right in our inbox. And if you're on your home screen here, you'll see that right here. nerdenterprises@bill.com is the one that I've set up for this account. Which means that all I have to do is, for example, any vendors that I have that are just automatically emailing my monthly invoice to me, all I have to do is go update my account profile with this email address so that it will go to my Bill.com inbox instead of my regular email inbox. And that's exactly where you want it to go. So I'll show you what this looks like. Let's say that I build myself, I build a school of bookkeeping from my Nerd Enterprises account. So I build myself $1 million. Notice I have my link here to pay the invoice online, right? Which is great. I also happen to have the Intuit payment network stuff in here. And over here is the invoice attached. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward this to my special Bill.com email address, which again is nerdenterprises@bill.com. And since I'm lazy, I'm just going to copy and paste that. And then we'll hit send. And then I'm done. I can close that because within the next minute or two, it's going to show up right here into my Bill.com inbox. In fact, it's already there. And I'll also get notified by email. And based on the settings, if you remember, that I chose in setup, I'm going to get a daily email, which will let me know of, it'll give me the list of all the invoices that are in my inbox that have to be entered. Now, here's how easy it is to enter a bill. And remember my rant earlier in the course about making it really easy for the person who has to enter the bill to do so? Well, look how I've got our schoolofbookkeeping.com invoice organized. It's right here. The date, the invoice number, the terms, everything down the line. And look what's happening here. This is actually from Nerd Enterprises. I'm just using myself as an example. So let's say the invoice was from Nerd Enterprises. And the invoice number is right there, 304321. I've designed it to basically make it so simple for anybody who's having to do the data entry. And as you can see, the data entry on this is also very easy. And the amount is $1 million. And then over here I can split it up so I can choose different accounts. And I can also go into my settings and set it up to allow for items if I wanted to be able to do that as well. And once I'm finished, the other thing is you'll want to check always, if the invoice happens to go on to a second page, there's going to be an option here that says include all pages. So you're generally going to want to check that off when that happens because, again, it just means that the invoice has multiple pages. And if you don't check that option off, then it's going to assume that you wanted to leave the other pages to enter as separate bills or include as a document elsewhere, because Bill.com does also offer that option that you can actually receive documents in here and store them as documents, and you can attach them to a vendor. So it has, robust document storage infrastructure in addition to, what it's really set up to do, which of course is managing the AR and the AP. So I'm going to hit save. And it says unknown vendor because I have to add it. Let's just use me. We'll just say it's from Seth David. Perfect. So now let's say I'm done. I've entered all my bills, right? The inbox is empty. Let's go over here to OneSAS Synchronize. Once again, remember, I didn't have to go far. I just had to have the tab open and click on it. So it's syncing, and then we're going to refresh Bill.com once it's finished syncing and confirm that the bill does in fact show up in 0. And OneSAS automatically reloads the page once it's finished synchronizing. Let's come over here and let's refresh 0. And once the OneSAS sync is complete, we can head on over to Bill.com and we'll want to refresh to make sure that it sees the update. And then we'll go into our accounts and purchases. And we have one bill awaiting approval. Now keep in mind that the way we set this up, if you go back to the settings area, if I go ahead and pay it out of Bill.com, it will automatically move it out of the awaiting approval and into the approved stage. So that's important to remember. It is going to initially sync when it's just entered and unpaid as a bill that's awaiting approval. Because remember, you're using Bill.com now to manage payables. 0 is just your general ledger, so it doesn't need to be approved in here until such time as you're ready to pay it. So that, my friends, is how that works. So we've covered the inbox, we've covered the email address. Let's take a look at how e-payments works. This is something I really wanted to highlight because when I figured out that this option existed, I got very excited, and I'll tell you why. One of the first clients I used Bill.com with, we were paying his credit cards. And when we would pay by check, you have to time it. It's your responsibility to time it if you're going to be paying even out of Bill.com by check to make sure that check gets there on time. So got a couple of checks out, I guess, late and didn't arrive to the credit card company. It was for the client's credit card bill. And we got hit with late fees, of course. So I called Bill.com and I explained the situation, and they said, oh, you should set up e-payments with them. And my first reaction was a big credit card company is not going to accept my invite to do e-payments. But actually, most of the credit card companies, as it turns out, are already in Bill.com system. So I put in my Best Buy credit card account in here so I can show you what this looks like. But sure enough, if you go into any major credit card, and you have to have your account number in here, and of course you have to have the payment address, and then you can click right here where it says Set Up E-Payments. And sure enough, Bill.com comes up with a match. Sometimes you'll get several, so you want to make sure that the payment address matches. And I'll choose Select. There's only one choice in this case. I'll choose Confirm, and that solved that whole problem. So now anytime I schedule a payment to pay this credit card out of Bill.com, it's going to get in there electronically, which means I don't need nearly as much lead time to make sure it gets there on time. And of course, once I did this for my client, we never paid another credit card bill late again because I can't rely on the post office, to get it there on time. So that was really, really a good thing to be able to see. And of course, just like we saw on the receivables side, if I go into my payables overview, you have some great high-level information, what's overdue, what's due in the next 7 days, that sort of thing. So, really, really easy to manage and see what's going on at a high level with your accounts payable. And then the last thing I want to show you here, which really isn't specifically around payables, but since we've covered now receivables and payables, I can show it to you, which is going to be the cash forecast. So if I go home here, I can see my cash forecast. And we're going to go into the sample file so you can see what it looks like with a little bit more data. And here it just gives me a pop-up help screen. But as you can see, what it's showing me basically is, when I'll have money coming in based on my due date. So it's going to assume that I'm going to get paid based on those due dates. And that way I can, plan my cash flow. I can figure based on when I'm getting money in, when I can expect to be able to pay my bills, and so on and so forth. If we come over here, notice it's got my starting book balance, which I think I had set that up as $970. I think that was a $1,000 invoice minus a $30 bill, actually, is what we did. Notice here that I have a bill to be paid. So right from here, I can say pay it, or I can click change, right? And so based on the forecast, I can change the forecast date, right? So the due date might be May 25th, but I might want to say, no, you know what? Because of cash flow, I'm not going to pay it till next month, right? And I click save, and it says bill successfully updated. And now that, of course, changes my forecast. So really, really cool that we can actually play around with the dates and especially adjust the forecasted dates so that we can get a nice visual graph here that shows us exactly when something is going to need to be paid in order for us to make sure that we have enough money to pay what we need to pay. And so that's a really cool feature to look at, and you can go here and you can actually say forecast transactions. So you can create your own little forecast, again, with a little bit more detail based on your accounts receivable and accounts payable. Let's go to the sample file so we can see it with a little bit more data in place. Be careful about those menus that drop down. They sometimes get right in the way of what you're trying to click on. So let's wait, be patient. There it goes. And let's explore sample data. So with some actual information in place, there's a little bit more to look at here, right? There's a lot more to look at down here. So we have an invoice, a receivable, right? I can change that to, change the date I expect to get paid on. So let's create a new forecast. So we'll say forecast June 30th. And so this is where you're actually going to manually put in, other inflows and outflows that you expect to have happen. And that way those can be figured in, because a perfect example of where you'd want to do this is not all of my customers necessarily going to pay me through Bill.com. So I might want to forecast the inflow based on a customer that I know is going to send me a check so that I can actually factor that in to my cash flow forecast. So again, Bill.com at the end of the day, it's really all about finding ways to improve your cash flow and using a powerful tool here that can help you to do just that. So automating the receivables process and using the cash flow forecasting tool so that you can better manage cash flow and make sure that you don't pay anything before you have the money coming in to cover it. These are all features that Bill.com has given us to help us better manage our AR and AP. And the beauty, of course, of this is it's all in the cloud, so we have that anytime, anywhere access. And everything, of course, syncs seamlessly back to Xero or QuickBooks Online. I've been picking on Xero here just because that was the second one I set up, and, well, it works. So that, my friends, is everything I can tell you for now on managing accounts payable with Bill.com, with a little bit of bonus right there at the end on the cash flow forecast. Next, and last but certainly not least, we're going to look at something we alluded to earlier in the course about setting up workflow in Bill.com. I touched on it during the settings lesson, or the setup lesson rather, but now I want to get in a little bit more detail in terms of how you can set up workflow so that you can say this person can enter bills, this person can pay bills, and maybe somebody in between has to approve them. It just depends on the size of the organization and how much structure you want to put into it in terms of what we call our system of internal controls. So that's what's coming up next. Make sure you're with me on everything so far, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Now that you've seen how to get the integration set up, how to manage accounts receivable and accounts payable, you have actually what you need already to have the power of a complete cash flow management tool. So long as you're running all of your accounts receivable and accounts payable through Bill.com, you can use the data that's already being provided to look at when you might run short on cash flow, when your cash flow might look a little long. So that's important stuff to be able to take advantage of. Next, we're going to take a look at one of the things that I think makes Bill.com an incredibly powerful tool in terms of security, right? So we talk a lot about security, but how much do we really understand what that looks like and how to increase the level of security that we have with respect to our payments? One of the reasons I love Bill.com so much is it eliminates the checks, right? In the past, I've had clients who got stung, so to speak, because they went on vacation and they left a bookkeeper with signed checks so that the bills could get paid. And the bookkeeper decided to take advantage of the opportunity to give themselves a bonus. And that will never happen as long as you're using something like Bill.com. You will no longer need to leave anybody with any blank checks. In fact, you can have the bookkeeper do everything all the way up to the point of payment. And while you're in Maui, in Hawaii, sitting on the beach, you can bring up your smartphone and initiate all your payments. You've already seen how that works and what that looks like in the course. So the point is, you have a lot better security with Bill.com, but now we're going to take that security to a whole new level as we take a look at workflows and how to set that up in Bill.com.